All right, so the new stuff. This was brought up by Carmen per Carmen's request. She's emphasized it to me twice in the last month. NV5 has paid out a lot of money in the last couple months due to user errors. What these errors, both of these instances involved the user using elevation data from aerial topography rather than our survey data. All right, there's a big difference. Your aerial topography is plus or minus half a foot. All right, so when you're tying into, let's say, an existing curb or an existing storm drain or some existing feature, make sure you're not using aerial information. Make sure you're using survey data obtained from our survey crews. All right, because when we give that elevation and that gets staked and you're 6 inches off, who do you think is paying for that error in the field? NV5. And that's cost the company quite a bit in the last 2 months. So Carmen specifically came up to me and asked, Jarrod, how can we fix this? So make sure anytime you have surface 10, you're not just building it from those contours that you receive from the aerialist, right? You're also supplementing that data with our survey data, right? So make sure you're bringing your survey points into your surface 10, right? And any tie-in point, you should actually have a physical shot on your tie-in point. And so you shouldn't even really be using the surface to obtain that elevation. You should be looking at the survey shot and making sure that your elevations match. Obviously, that's a bigger issue for, let's say, our public works and civil groups, but it's also applicable to T&D, transmission and distribution. Make sure that your tie-ins, you're using your survey data and not some data obtained from an aerial image, all right? That's a big issue. It's cost this company quite a bit of money the last couple months, so make sure you're doing that. Drawing setup, again, make sure you're using the correct coordinate system. This literally comes up once a month in terms of files not being set on the right coordinate system. This is very important when you're using old files as well. Let's say files that were originally set up in LAN desktop. Make sure that when you open those files that you check your coordinate zone, all right? Otherwise, your entire project is going to be off. Yes?
What if I have old files that is set out with wrong zone already, and we put some of the device work, and we realize after. So how can we actually fix it?
As long as you don't have any survey points in your file, you can switch the zone without any repercussions. The minute you have points already in your file is where the mistakes come into play. So as long as it's just line work, you can switch your zone all day. Nothing's going to shift or move. It's just when you bring in the survey points that the zones really come into play. All right? Good question. The working folder. All right. A lot of our projects have this thing called a working folder, right? How many people use the working folder? Bad news for you. That needs to go away. This is per Doug's request, all right? What the working folder has been used for is a dumping ground of information. And a lot of times what happens is our CAD master files just get copied, thrown into the working folder, and then work gets done in the working folder, right? No explanation, no description of how it differs from the CAD master. What file is the current one? Nobody knows, right? The whole point of having a master file is that that's the file that's being updated, right? If you need to make certain changes to your file that, hey, this is for an exhibit purpose or something, put it on a different layer. Manage it that way. Don't create all these versions of your file with no description of what was done. In your CAD master file, that one original file, put it on a different layer. Make some notes, right? I've harped on you guys quite a bit in terms of your design files. You should have notes in there telling you what's the control for this design? How are things being designed? You know, if there's certain things like, hey, you want to point out, hey guys, this is a combo elbow on that gas pipeline. Draw a little revision cloud, put some text there. Note it so that the next person that goes in that file knows exactly where you were in your design and your line of thought, right? There's a reason why we have non-plottable layers. It's for that type of information. So make sure you're leaving design clues in the files behind. You're not the only one working on these files, right? And even if you are the only one working on those files, 6 months from now, you may not remember why you did something a certain way. So make notes in your files and get rid of that working folder. All right, I know that's going to be a hard habit to break, but We need to get rid of it. It's just been a dumping ground with duplicate file names, no documentation of what was done. If you do make major changes to a file, make a copy of it, throw it in the archive folder, right? And then give a little brief description of, hey, before red lines on this date, something like that. So keep track of your changes that way. Use of the InDrive. As you can tell, the InDrive has a lot of folders on it. This has always kind of been an issue of we might get a little careless and accidentally do that, right? And then somebody goes, oh, where did my folder go? Oh, and look, just by chance, there's already a folder in here, right? So I can't tell you how many times this happens, and it really shouldn't be happening. Anytime, what I'm going to say is limit the amount of time you spend in a Windows browser on the InDrive, right? Everything you're opening in CAD. Why do you need to be on the Windows Explorer InDrive? You don't? Would you guys agree? And if anything, you should be in your project folder, right? And the best way of getting there is through this little button here, right? Explore drawing folder. So it'll take you to your project. I just so happen to be on my G drive. So limit the amount of time that you spend on the root InDrive is going to be my advice. As you saw, just by happenstance, I dragged a folder into another one, and there was already one dragged into that. So that happens a lot. It's causing some slowdown. People having to go to Karen, hey, where did my folder go? And then we have to search for it. And so just limit the amount of time that you're in Windows Explorer, especially on the InDrive. If you do, for some reason, create folders, which you really shouldn't be, make sure that you follow convention. And I'll probably send out an email regarding this and kind of appoint somebody to create folders. Let's use this one as an example. This is the wrong format of the project folder. Why is it wrong?
There's a dot.
There's a dot, right? Should be a dash. Even though in Vision it's a dot, in our file path we want it to be a dash, right? Just the way the software handles dots means file extension, so let's not kind of confuse that, right? And after the project is made and AutoCAD files are created, I'm not going to go in here and change it, because then you're going to have to repath every XREF, right? I'm not going to be mean. I should just rename that one, right? So be very careful if you are creating folders, which hopefully no one is. Follow our naming conventions, all right? The file etiquette for the day is make sure you close AutoCAD files or close all files when you leave for the day. That includes AutoCAD drawing files and your survey database. If you open a survey database and then leave for the day, and let's say our surveyors come in first thing in the morning, and you already have that survey database checked out for editing, you lock down your entire project. Your surveyors cannot access the survey database when you have it open, right? So be nice to your coworkers, practice good file etiquette, close out for the day, all right? Close AutoCAD, close your survey database, and even your Excel files for your CSVs for your points, close those too. Because what happens when your CSV is open? Nobody can add it to the survey database, all right? So you can see how you're starting to hinder workflows. So just close out of your files at night. It also gives them time to back up to our tape backup and everything else. Just close out of the files at night. Spell check inside AutoCAD. I've created a custom dictionary for our words that we want to add now. So let me know. 2016 is configured with that custom dictionary. So let's say we need to add certain words that aren't in the dictionary. We now have the ability to do that. So let me know if we want any help on that. I've also created a little document, a CAD manual more or less, in terms of notating some of these things that are going on, and I'll keep you guys up to date on how that goes. But I am in the process of creating a MV5 CAD manual documenting some of our workflows and features of AutoCAD and how things are configured. Rick, you had a question earlier.
I just was, we were talking about putting notes and, say, calculations, quantities, whatever, inside these files. But you go to distribute them to a client, shouldn't you strip all that stuff out of there and clean up your file before delivering those
You certainly can. You could also just freeze it. Usually, if it's a client, your client isn't going to be manipulating layers much. But yeah, that is something that you could delete as well. Layer isolate that layer and delete if there's certain stuff that you don't want your client to see or a consultant to see. Yeah, kill it. And that goes with everything. Anytime you transmit files outside of this building, there should be some things that you don't want leaving this building. So make sure you delete those out from the file. You know, not only little notes like that, but some of our intellectual property rights, you know, all the blocks that are in your drawing. If they're not being used, purge your drawing, right? The last thing you want to do is hand our competitor, hey, here's our entire block library. Hey, here's our entire stock Civil 3D styles library, right? We want to protect our intellectual property right, and really that's done on an individual basis. That's done by you guys. So yeah, be sure to purge out your drawings anytime you send it to the client. And our e-transmit settings actually kind of do that. They will purge your drawings as well. But if things are in use, obviously it's not getting purged. So if there's, you know, that initial block matrix or something, that's in use. So none of those blocks are being purged. And the purge does not purge Civil 3D styles as well. So if you care about some of our Civil 3D styles, you got to purge those styles as well. Yes, Scott?
Would you tell them how you copy it over to the deliver file, and that's the file change?
Yes. You never want to purge out and purge your styles from your CAD master file or your original source data, right? Anytime you do it, you want to send a file to a consultant or a client, copy that file to the receivable folder, right? Then you open that receivable file, or deliverable file, and that's the file that you then kind of deconstruct, right? That's the one that you want to eliminate all unnecessary data from. You always want to leave our in-house file intact, right? It's just the file that you send out that you want to kind of strip down, right? Next topic, fields. Hopefully you guys are starting to see more and more fields in your drawings. This is definitely something we can take advantage of, particularly in our title blocks. So you may start to see more fields being used. Quick word of caution regarding the date field. There's two ways to add a date field, and they act completely different. So type field. I'm going to go up to this field category and go date and time. If you pick one of these and enter it in, it will not automatically update when you do a regen or save. The date will only update if you type in update field. All right? So be very careful on what field you choose for your date and time. If you want it to constantly update every time you plot or regen or save, or if you want it to be kind of a manual hard set update. All right? If you want it to be automatically updating, this is the way you access it. Under all, and then system variable at the bottom here, and then date. This variable will automatically update every time you do a regen, something that involves a regen. Be it open your file, save your file, regen your file, or plot your file. All right? So that's the big difference between the date field. That's come up a little bit here in the last couple months of, hey, why isn't my date field updating? Well, it's because it was set to date and not instead of the system variable. All right? So that's an important distinction to make. All right? All good on that?
What would be an instance that you would recommend utilizing that?
So the way I've used this a lot is on my plot date of drawings. I've had certain project managers say, hey, my plot date, I want it to be this certain date. Even though I might plot it a day later, I still want it to be that dated version of the drawing. So in that case, I would use the date, right? But let's say, hey, my project manager said, or let's say in my date stamp on the bottom left-hand corner of my drawing, I want that to read the date and time that I actually print, right? So in that case, I would need to use this all system variable because I want it to continuously update, all right? So that's like a quick application difference between the two.
What about the plot date field? Is that,
This one here?
yeah.
That one, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know if that one automatically updates or not.
It does.
I-
That's what I use for all my.
I think it does as well. Pretty sure it does, but I'm not 100% sure. I know that the system one does, but keep in mind the plot one, that will only update when you plot, right? If you want it to update every time you regen or save, you have to use the system variable one. All right. This is a very important topic here. I'm going to insert a title. I'm going to attach a title block. We'll go SDGE, why not? All right, so I have this title block, it's XREF'd into this drawing, right? If I go into my layer manager and I go down, there's my layers, they're kind of screened back because it's an XREF, right? Under XREF, there they are. If we look at the layer names of the XREF, they're kind of normal, what we would expect, right? The dash, 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 and then border, file name, etc. What happens if I'm told I want to bind this XREF, right? People use that term. I want to bind that XREF to this drawing. How do I do that? Without e-transmit. Bind, right? Okay. So we go over to our XREFs, click on our XREF, and we hit this bind, right? When we do that, we're brought up with this dialog box. Bind and insert, right? The terminology is to bind it, right? You do not actually want to bind it. You want to insert it. This is what happens when you hit bind. It then becomes a block, right? And let's say we explode that block. Or actually, let's not explode that block. Doesn't matter. Look what happens to my layer names. I expect the layer name to just be border, right? Instead, I got this title block, SDGE distribution underscore 24 by 36, $0, border. That's not a good layer name, right? That's going to fail any layer check. That's not a standard layer. So that's what happens when you bind an XREF and you actually bind it into your drawing. The layer name gets prefixed with the XREF name, and then you have that $0. So obviously we do not want to do that because we want all of our layers to follow standard convention. All right, so it's back to an XREF now. So I'm going to go to bind, but then I'm going to insert it. And AutoCAD crashes. That's beautiful. Welcome to 2016 AutoCAD.
I'm doing it right.
So don't bind. Yeah, you got to go to bind, right? All right, so let's try that again. All right, if you come up with some of these dialogues on your machine, let me know when you do 2016. It means something's not configured. I didn't configure it for my user, so unfortunately, I'm going to get a bunch of those. Oh, only one, not bad. Oh, here we go. That should be fixed on your machines when you run the batch file, but just in case, let me know. All right, so that's the difference between bind and inserting XREFs. Make sure you insert, never bind an XREF. All right? Real quick, not going to cover it in a lot of detail, but I just want to let you guys know for some individual groups. For SDGE SDGE distribution design group, you've got some new blocks. You've got a new anchor block. That anchor is now dynamic. You have the ability to choose single or double guy wires. You also have the ability to distinguish between existing and proposed anchor and guy combinations. All right, that's all in a dynamic block. You also have a pull new. That block is now dynamic, and it has a wipeout that you can toggle on and off. You also have a stub new. That's now dynamic as well with a wipeout, toggle on and off. And you have a new block for your pull replacement. So hopefully that kind of speeds up all your drafting of those certain facilities. For the gas group, we've got tons of new blocks and we've got tons of new styles. I will be doing specific training to the gas group, but know that you have a new BOM Note. You have details and call-out bubbles, and you also have your tie-ins are completely revamped. You now have it with the PS and the HS and elevation incorporated into the blocks, as well as just all the attributes cleaned up and some new custom dynamic properties. So just know those things. And I'll go over one last thing before we talk about the main reason to use 2016. New LISP for the couple months. For our logo, our MB5 logo, you've got two new LISP routines to use. They're automatically loaded into AutoCAD. They're logo insert and logo update. So if you type logo insert, it will insert our logo. May not work on this machine. I'll look into that. But it should work I think I hit no load on it, so just know those are two new commands. You have some really cool abilities to change some text colors and text copies. So real quick, I'm going to demonstrate them. Let's go 50.
Logo insert and what?
Logo insert and logo update. I'm going to just set up a couple things here. So I'm going to do a horrible bad practice. I'm going to hard set the color of this text, right? You guys would never do that. You'd never encounter that in any of your files, right? So to change that text back to by layer, how would you do it? Yeah, you'd have to literally go into every single one of these, double click, highlight all the text, and then change it by layer, right? Let's say you have 100 of those callouts. You want to do that for the next 4 hours? I don't. There's a couple of list routines here that can really help you. This one right here will take care of that. mLeader, mText color. So I'm going to double click that. The command is LCO. I'm going to click it and then tell it what to do. I'm going to go by layer. So it changed from green, now it's white, which is by layer. All right, and you can select all the objects in your drawing if you want to do that. So that could save you several hours on drawing cleanup. Let's say you have some old text, maybe an mText, right? And you want to take that information and copy it to an attributed block, right? That happens a lot in our distribution and our firm projects. There's a list routine to help you do that. Text, copy text. So CTX is the command. Select what you want to copy, select the destination, right? That's way better than going in here, editing, control, go in here, paste, right? Your wrist should be thanking me, right? CTX. Click, 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 right? And that works for basically anything. It works from mText to attributes to mLeaders, whatever you want. You can use it. Yeah, yeah. It'll works on basically everything I've thrown at it.
Just when you have an mText and you have multiple lines, if you do CTX and you copy that mText, it
Correct. So if you have, if let's say this was mtext, or let's just create mtext real quick. Right? And I only want that first line, or let's do CTX on this mtext, right? And then I click over here, it's going to do all of them, right? So the better thing to do if you're copying mtext, Jared said explode. Uh-oh. Explode the mtext. So now there are individual lines of text that you can then use your CTX, right? Exploding it's okay because you're going to delete this once you're done with it, right? Yeah. Let's say a lot of these are just drawing cleanup. Let's say you inherit a project from another company and they just kind of had horrible drawing practices. So let's say they did this. They have a leader and some text, right? And now you got to move this text all around, make it relevant, right? The last thing you want to do is have to highlight both of them, move it around. What happens if I told you there's an easy way to convert this leader and text into an mtext or an m leader? Wouldn't that be cool? There is. I think it's that one. Leader to m leader. LTM, select your leader, select your text. That's the one that gets the O and O's? Man, jeez. Yeah, so if you notice the scale shrunk down, right, from my original text, that's because it's going to take on the default style that you have set for your M leader style, right? So to get this to maybe display it correctly, M leader style, and then set your style to whatever you want it to be, all right? Obviously, I was drawing things at like 50 height, so things were large just so you could see. But this is actually your more typical 40 scale text. All right, so it will just take on your current style for your M leader.
What if those, like a leader has been exposed to your lines already?
If the leader has been exploded, then I can't help you. That's why explode is a horrible command, right? And nobody should use it. A couple list routines have been added to your tool palettes. Especially you'll notice that moving ahead in 2016 is that you'll have a tab specifically for LISP. My idea is to populate that with as many lists as you guys want that you find applicable to your workflow. So I've just started it. I need your input of, hey, Jared, that list is really useful. I use it every day. I wish it was available in my tool palette where I could just click it, have it load, and be ready to go, right? So a couple of those have been added. They've been added to the SDGE-DD list tab. There's one to redefine all the blocks in your drawing. There's one to restore our layer state from the template. It'll take the layer state from the template, insert it into your drawing, and set it current. So it'll basically update all your layer colors per the template, which is a very useful cleanup tool, right? So with that, I'm going to pause the actual Lunch and Learn and get into 2016 a little bit, just real quick here. So like I mentioned, geolocation tools here, cool. I'm at 0, 0, so that won't really work very well. But what you'll notice is that you have this geolocation tab once you sign in to your Autodesk tab. And bringing in Bing Imagery is as easy as 2 clicks of a button. Map aerial. And then it would bring in, it would connect in, right? Yeah, you need to create one. There was a prompt there to do that. Here's where you can sync your custom settings to the cloud if you so desire. I would recommend not syncing your settings because typically you're not going to work at a standalone edition of AutoCAD at home, right? Whoever here has AutoCAD installed on their machine? No one. No one, yeah.
No.
So if my drawing has world coordinates associated with it and I'm in that area, my imagery is going to show, right? Obviously, I'm zoomed in to 0, 0. There's no imagery for zone 6 at 0, 0 world coordinates, right? So obviously, this only really works if you're actually in a drawing file. My words of caution, Bing imagery is outdated. It's not very up to date, and the quality is not crystal clear, all right? So use this imagery just to do a quick checks, to just see what's going on at your site. If you want better imagery, what I would recommend doing is going to Google Earth, saving off the high quality photo, and then bringing it in as an image and using the align command, align that image with points in your aerial from the map, all right? But the Bing imagery could be very helpful. It's very quick, an easy way just to check, make sure everything fits right on your site. Now the main reason why we want to use 2016, we got some imagery. So this is what the imagery kind of looks like. Yeah, it's not bad by any means. So, you know, if this is your site, having this imagery here at a toggle of a button is very useful, right? Especially for, let's say, hydrology or existing sites, infills. This imagery could be life-saving, real quick, turn it on and off, right? The one thing I will share with you is if you want to plot this, you have to capture the area. If you just hit plot, it's not going to show up. You have to capture the area first. Then that image can actually be plotted. So it captures it as an actual image, and then that image is plottable. All right, just a quick distinction to know that your actual image does not plot.
Small question. So is this pictures right now is just inside folders, or is actually create something like the XREFS for this?
So when you're using the geolocation data, it's just coming in from online. When you capture the data, it actually inserts it as an image in your drawing. It's a raster image, I believe. It's a geomap image.
Okay.
So
it's actually just
it's embedded inside this file. So that's not the best practice, because then if I XREF this file, this image is going to get, you know, domino effect into all my files. So I would not recommend capturing a bunch of these in your files. You should have a standalone file that has all your imagery if you want to go that route. But typically if we're going to plot imagery, we're going to use something a little bit better than Bing, right? Typically. If it's a quick exhibit, that's fine. Capture it in your exhibit file. That's perfectly a legitimate workflow, all right?
Do we still have the NL for the multi-list to look it up and check definitions and stuff?
The NL?
Multi-list.
What do you mean? I'm not familiar with that one.
The list for team, where you type in NL and it give you all the list for teams, give you the definition.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Yes, so that's part of the NV5 tools. NV5 tools, programs. I don't know why it's failing on my machine. That should work on your machine. All your NV5 tools should work and carry over to 2016. So that is just a quick note about that NL. No one has maintained that for over 3.5 years or 4 years now. So all these list routines that have been developed in the last 3.5 years are not included in that library. So I would use that library with caution because it's not up to date. Still has valid list routines, but you're going to be missing out on a lot of them.
But this one does then? This one has them all?
No. No one is maintaining that database of list routines. This is a separate database. It's a SQL database, and no one's maintaining it. Let me leave it at that. I'd love to, but money talks, apparently.
And where do we go again to get those updated list routines?
So the only way to find them is really any list routine that I've developed, I put under the San Diego folder. And then I kind of gave them, named them in a way that would make sense to people. They're by category. So like if it deals with the block, it's block underscore, and then a quick description of what it does and what the name is. So obviously block north arrow, that's going to insert your north arrow. That's INA, right? So just like all those text ones, these are all the list routines that I've developed that deal with some sort of text modification. All right. And those are being incorporated into the new NV5 CAD manual. They are being actually listed and definitions given, but it's a work in progress. All right. Real reason to use 2016. Everybody in the transmission and distribution group should absolutely love this. This will save you weeks on your design projects, and it will make you more accurate in your design. So right now, I've got a simple alignment, and I've got some existing utilities that cross it, right? This one is a 2-inch gas. This is a 12-inch gas. This is a 12-inch RCP, and this is a 36-inch CMP pipe, right? So we added those to the profile here. And typically, the way that you would label these is very painful, right? So the way that we would typically go about these is we'd go up to pipes, pipe network labels. We go in here, entire network profile. And then we'd toggle this so that we could actually see what this pipe was, right? Oh, so this is a 2-inch steel gas, right? And then we come up to our NV5 tools, pipes, profile crossing pipe. And then you'd navigate through this long list of junk, right? And then you'd pick out the right one, add it, pick your view. And then you do that for all your pipes, right? Individually. There's such a better way now. If this doesn't get you excited, I just can't help you. Right? Because this way is pretty lousy. All right, so I've got 2 pipe networks here. These are my gas. These are my storm drain. In 2016, there's a new label available. If you notice, there's 3 options here. This third one is new. This crossing pipe label style is completely new. It's a new category of pipe labels. So what we're going to do is we're going to set it to entire network profile. I'm going to set my pipe label style to none, my structure label style to none, my crossing pipe label style. That's what I'm going to set. So right now you've got a couple different styles. The difference is 4 lines of text versus 5 lines of text. The difference is the 5 lines of text has the caution, right? For your high pressure gas and electrical lines, we label it with caution first. So gas line, so we're going to use the caution, right? Do we want it to label the top of pipe or the bottom of pipe? Typically we do top. We'll hit add, then we'll select any pipe in the network. You'll notice that it labeled both of the gas pipe networks, and that's all you have to do. You don't have to pick a label style for the size and material. It is dynamically linked to the actual pipe itself. So if that pipe changes, your label is going to change as well. All right, and let's say, oh, Doug actually wants the bottom of this pipe elevation, right? Because typically when you design civil plans, you label the closest crossings, right? So if my profile is here and my crossing utility is here, that crossing utility should be labeled to the bottom of the pipe, right? Because you're interested in the clear between the two. So the way we've been doing it is a little actually against industry convention, to tell you the truth. Regardless, now you have the ability to actually label the bottom of your pipe. So this pipe here is an elevation of 3, right? Top of pipe. I'm going to change it to the bottom style. And that makes no sense.
You got them backwards?
I might have them backwards. I'm not sure. That would make sense. No, got it outside bottom elevation. I don't know. I'll look at that. But these labels should save you, what, days, months, weeks? Oh, it's a minus elevation, yeah. I'm below ground. That's why it's lower. So it's reading it right.
When you pull those off, what do they maintain state?
So they act just like our normal labels act, or they should. And I'll actually fix this. I found out a way to actually get rid of that tail leader. Yeah, so you don't have to do it manually. Here's the trick. If you set that to 0, it goes away. Ooh, ah. Right? So those things will be kind of reflected in the template moving forward. So this should save you guys weeks on your projects. So it will do the entire network. So right, I did the gas, now I just have to do the storm drain. Click the network, there we go. It's reading the 12-inch RCP storm drain and 36-inch CMP storm drain. The difference here is your pipe network names are going to have to change, right? Right now we call it EXSD as our pipe network name. We're going to change it to be SD, right? Because really we want this to read 12-inch RCP SD. We don't want EXSD, right? So just be aware that your pipe networks in the template are now different. They don't have the EX. They're just going to have the actual what we want to call it. So for your water, it's going to actually say water. For gas, it's going to say gas, right? Because that's what that label is reading. It's actually reading your pipe network name.
What if I have the one that called EX before, and I want to change it?
Rename it. Rename your pipe network. It's that easy to gas, and then your label will read it. The one word of caution that I have to say on these labels is the way that these labels work. They're reading the inside pipe diameter. That inside pipe diameter may not be what we actually want to call the pipe in terms of pipe size. All right. So as you use these, just kind of let me know of those issues, and we can kind of talk through them. I don't have a great solution for it yet. The other thing with these labels that are a little unresolved, you'll notice that the labels go to the center of the pipe. I can get it to go to the top or bottom when it's not dragged, but the minute you drag it, it goes to the center. So I've left it at the center just to be consistent. So just know, hey, it's going to the center, even though you may be labeling the top or bottom. It's going to go to the center, unfortunately. So just kind of keep that in mind. Not a big deal, I don't think. If Doug or Dan or somebody says something, let's kind of talk through it. What we might be able to do is add a wipeout or mask to the pipe, or we can look at some different options. But obviously having this crossing pipe label styles will save you guys weeks of time, and your accuracy will be dramatically improved. Also, the main benefit is when these pipes change, right? You'll notice my label down there is changing with it. So if you look, it's this label here, and I'll move it way out here so you can see. The label moves with it. You know, the pipe profiler, our MP5 pipe profiler, we'd have to tell it to update, and when you updated it, the label wouldn't move, just the leader would attach to it. And then you got to spend hours upon hours adjusting all these labels. If you notice, the label actually keeps its shape and moves entirely. So that's actually really helpful, especially when your alignment changes and all these labels need to move the same amount, the entire alignment. You basically won't have to do any cleanup drafting. The entire label system gets updated for you as well. So this tool alone should be, oh my goodness, we are going to 2016 today on my project, right? I would. The reason why I say you need to make that decision as a team, these labels do not convert back down to 2013. So if I now save this file and open it in 2013, no bueno. Because it's unrecognized. It doesn't have the code to process these labels. So that's why your entire team needs to be on board with 2016 before really moving forward. Any questions? I know we covered a lot. Hopefully you gained a little knowledge. I know a lot of it was just talking, but things that I wanted to share with you. So I'll send out an email with the link to 2016. Hopefully you all run it and start using the software. Hopefully I get flooded with emails of project numbers to upgrade to 2016. That would make me happy. The one last thing to cover, guys, real quick here. I mentioned we have one profile, right? But you still need all your separate tool palettes. If you go to your tool palette and you right-click over here, here's all your different tool palettes. So I'm in the Imperial profile, but I can access the tool palette for gas. Or I can access the tool palette for T&D, which is actually DD. It's mislabeled somehow. Then T&D. All right, so all your tool palettes are there. It's all incorporated into one profile. The one thing I will say too, hopefully you guys get, you'll have two workspaces. There'll be NV5, C3D, Imperial, and then I give one for dual monitors and one for single monitor. So in case you're on a laptop like myself here, all these windows that you want to access are docked on the left side of your menu or your window, as opposed to having dual monitors and having them on your second monitor. Just a quick little cleanup if you ever go home and work as well. If you want a VPN and you just have one monitor at home, you'll want to just switch your workspace to a single monitor, and it kind of cleans all that up for you. So just a quick little cleanup to make that work situation work better. Any questions? You guys all look sleepy, I know. I'm tired of hearing me talk, I know. Questions? No questions? No questions?
So for the tool palette selection, if you just right-click the title of the standard tool palette, there we go.
Just right-click on tool palettes,
Yeah.
and it gives you the options. And hopefully when you guys run the update, these will update on your machine. It will be DD. It's just mislabeled. Cool?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.